Welcome to AlphaCars and Motorcycles. My name is Dimitri, and today we have an exciting vehicle. Yeah, actually a very exciting vehicle. Here it is. Let me show it to you. Oh, where is it? There. There. Yes, there it is. 2023 Ford Bronco. And this is a nice, very nice trim level. Check this out, right up there. Gorgeous color combination. And this vehicle is someone else's vehicle, so we're not reviewing it for our inventory. It is here for service, and you would say, well, it's a brand new one, and you'd be right. It has 184 miles. And look at the condition of this vehicle. And the reason I'm going for the underbody, because you can make them all look shiny on the outside, but they're only really original on the underbody once, especially here around New England. And to keep it this way, it's a special effort. And we're gonna tell you how you can do this. We will do it together in this video. So let's do it. So this Ford Bronco has 184 miles, and I believe it only made a couple of trips. One was from the dealer delivery area, and the other one was to AlphaCars. And we thank you very much, Bronco Forum, because they refer business to us, and that's huge. But most importantly, you help your fellow Bronco owners, because we're one of the very few people that would take an extremely thorough, I would say enthusiastic approach to protecting the underbody. And when we deal with a brand new vehicle, all we need to do is to protect it. When we deal with the vehicle that was on the road, we also need to do some additional work. We need to clean it. And if it's been on the road for a while, we do need to also deal with rust, treat the rust, clean it mechanically, chemically. And so we're trying to avoid all that. How do you do this? You start from this point. That's the best point to start. Check this out. Let's take a look at it. It is a brand new vehicle that literally rolled off the assembly line. And you can see these parts like that. That is actually bare metal. That is fully unprotected bare metal. You spend 3 or 4 days on the road, a little bit of rain, and you're gonna see some rust there. When you see rust, you need to deal with it. So the best way is not to deal with rust and do the protective treatments when the vehicle is exceptionally new, undriven, unrusted, not dirty, nice and clean. So you can see this one obviously hit a little bit of water on the way, and you can see some splashes of dirt. And it's not a big deal, because this dirt is on the fender liner, and a little bit on the flares. The underbody is still super clean. So we're gonna be working, that's gonna go in the shop in the next couple of days. We're gonna be working with extremely clean vehicle. And that's the way to do it. And of course, we're gonna take the splash shields, protective skid plates, that's all gonna come off. On this particular vehicle, we obviously gonna take there are different stages of work we can do. One of them would be just spraying all accessible areas without major disassembly. It's much better than doing nothing, but we can still do a lot more. So we will disassemble the fender splash shields, we'll remove the flares, we will remove the bumpers, and we will pretty much get the access to every underbody part. We'll try to get to every cavity, and that way we will have a very good access. And with that access, we'll be able to apply the protective coating to pretty much to all the areas. So if we can get there, we're trying to get to the places where the elements would get to. So we would go inside all these openings, all these enclosed areas, and we would get on the inside of the doors. And with Broncos, you have these well, not only with Broncos, but Broncos are pretty accessible. So you have these access ports. We would spray the protective coating, and there's one on the other side. So we'll do that. And of course, you can remove the trim and you can do a bit more thorough job. But for the difference, the extra labor to remove and install the trim is not justifiable. Plus, it is a factory assembly, even though we're very neat and accurate. If you don't have to take something apart, which was assembled at the factory, that's the best way of handling it. And the same is on the back doors. We will also spray the product inside the rocker panels, and that will have access there. Once we remove this, we'll go inside the frame rails, and we'll have that further in the video. So definitely stay tuned. It's going to be a very, very, very exciting video. So watch it to the end. But before we get there, I'm going to also pull out my paint meter tool. So for those of you that are not aware with what the paint meter tool does, we usually use it when we purchase a vehicle. We usually wanted to make sure we buy and sell, because usually whatever we buy, we usually sell it. Because if we didn't, we would accumulate an extra vehicle. So we've been in business for 32 years. So for example, if every year we bought one more vehicle than we sold, by now we would have 30 vehicles. Anyway, this Ford Bronco paint thickness is ranging between 2.5 mils to, I believe, 3 or 3.5 mils. And the sticky note is 0.5 mil. So that gives you an idea of how much material is here. And what that material consists of is it measures to the bare metal, and then there is a primer, there's a base coat, and there's a clear coat. And combined, you get to about 3 mils. So for example, on a high-end Porsche, depending on the color, you could measure anywhere from 4 to 5 on a single stage, which this Ford is single stage, and you can get into 7, 8, even 9. And that's not just Porsche. I picked that as an example. On most European cars, you measure, I would say, 3 to 5 on a single stage, and 5 to 9 on 3-stage pearl effect colors. By the way, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous color. Very, very nice color. The reason I'm measuring paint here is we all know what kind of exposure we see on the exterior. You get rain, you get snow. Some vehicle owners that don't care as much, they can scrape the ice, which is big no, we don't want to do that. But there's not much going on there, like not a lot of sand. You don't go over, you don't really do much with exterior paint other than washing it. On the underbody, on the other hand, you get a lot of things going on. So it's constantly sandblasted. You get rock chips, you get all this ugliness in New England, all this chemicals. We used to call it salt, but it's far from salt. Salt was really innocent compared to the chemicals we see on the road now. So let's measure how much of a protection we get from Ford Motor Company to protect your precious Ford Bronco frame, for example. So we're going to put a paint meter here, and just take a moment and guess for yourself how much of a paint is applied on the frame to protect it from elements. Okay, here it is. 0.5 mils. 0.5 mils. You do get extra protection in some spots, and that's a joke. So for example, where that sticker is, we measured 2.5. So this sticker thickness is 2 mils, and the actual paint that protects the metal, the structural metal of the frame, is 0.5 mil. And the reason this measures 2 mils because you've got the paper and then you have the plastic wrap over it. So that's that. And then there are some spots right here, for example, you get actually pretty nice rubberized textured undercoating that covers the section of it. I cannot explain why they picked this particular section, but they did. I wish they did the entire underbody in this, because if we go to measure, this is now the unibody. We already know how much paint Ford gave us on the frame, but on the unibody, which is also structural component, so let's check that out. 1 mil. A little bit more, but certainly not enough. And there's very little paint inside, so we definitely, if any, we're definitely gonna get stuff there. So you see these patches of rubberized, it's actually very good European style, nice, non-drying, heavy, almost like a seam sealer. And I believe that's what it is. There are some seams here and they just spray that out. So if they did it on the entire unibody from the underbody, it would be an amazing, amazing thing. So they didn't do that. So we need to do some additional protection here. And that's why we do what we do. And by the way, it's not the only thing we do. We do all kinds of cool things here at AlphaCars. But that's a really good start for this video. So let's get this Ford Bronco in the shop and we'll get started on it. So let's get it in the bay. We are making excellent progress with the Bronco, and we'll show you where we are at this stage. You can see the bumpers are removed, the wheels are removed. Those are the big heavy ones. We do have the fender flares off, the fender splash shields are off. You can see some miscellaneous brackets, and we removed even the rear dust backing plates from the brakes, and you'll see why. This is a good thing to do on a vehicle if it's completely brand new, like this truck is. So this one, customer brought it in, and it's absolutely impeccable. There's not a piece of dirt anywhere, so we're very lucky to get it in this condition, and we will have some optional protection items, because as you can see, there are some areas like you can see that hub that goes into the axle on the inside. It basically has bare metal. So we could potentially use a primer, flat black paint, and do a light coat and refinish it. We wouldn't put undercoating in there, but it can be refinished. We can spot refinish areas like that because they're just starting to rust, as you can see right here. So we can certainly do that. And as you can see, it started rusting, and the vehicle did not even spend any miles on the road. So you can only imagine how it would rust after some time on the road. Okay. We are back to the conditions we're working with the fender flares removed. You can see we have awesome access to everything. We're also going to remove some of the heat shields. Most of them are accessible, so we're going to remove them, pull them down to be able to apply the undercoating under. We are masking the exhaust. We don't want any of the undercoating on the exhaust. We're gonna remove this splash shield. This one we would not be able to remove, but we should be able to lower it down. We're able to lower down just a little bit of a gas tank, about an inch, so we can get our spray equipment in there. So we will be able to access that. We'll be able to access the frame around the gas tank right there. And this hasn't rusted badly, so we do have an option of refinishing that in flat black for our customer, as well as the drive shaft. You can see it's just starting to rust, but mainly metal is good, so we can scuff it, prime it, and paint it to prevent rusting. But otherwise, it's just gonna be cosmetic rust, so don't feel bad if yours is rusting. It's not an issue. So you can see the exposed wheel wells, suspension, the front end with the bumper removed. And yeah, you can see pretty much everything. As far as the drive shaft, so we do have an option here. It's just starting to develop the surface rust, so we can certainly scuff it, do a quick rust converter treatment on the spots of rust, and we can apply a flat black finish. So we'll provide that option for this customer. Usually when we see them, they already have plenty of rust, so it's not really an option, but here we do have this option. And as far as the bumpers, you see we have them off the vehicle, so we'll be able to spray the inside of the reinforcements and protect them from rusting. And just a quick bonus footage, we have the G-Class, G63, right next to Bronco. And this one we have been managing and mitigating some rust issues, and now today we're doing the underbody treatment. So while protecting the Bronco's underbody from rust, there are a few other considerations regarding just in general vehicle protection. Of course, this is a good time to consider paint protection film. And with the hardtop or softtop Broncos, there's not much of painted surfaces left. And those that are left, definitely when protected by quality paint protection film, that would go a long way. So that's definitely would be a good timing. And then when we look at the hardtop, which has a flat black finish, by nature, that's a porous finish. So that can also be fed and protected with ceramic coating. And that's a really, I think that would go a long way. And as far as ceramic coating on non-painted surfaces, it can also be applied to plastic finish. And the flares, fender flares, those are great candidate. The front and rear bumper on Broncos, even though they look like they have a similar finish, not only the finish is different, the front bumper is all metal, and it has textured paint, which is also porous and can be protected with the ceramic coating. And the rear bumper has a plastic bumper cover, and just like fender flares, that can be protected with ceramic coating. So why would you do ceramic coating, and what does it do? There are a number of things that it does. The most notable ones are that it actually feels the pores, and it repels the dirt. It repels a lot of things. It also repels UV, and that's important for fading of the paint, and it's important for fading on the plastic parts. Not that it's going to completely eliminate it, but it's definitely going to substantially reduce it. And as far as the underbody, which you've seen that footage earlier, but here is the underbody getting ready. We are still going to wrap up the shocks, and we're getting a quote to the vehicle owner to refinish bare metal parts. As we showed you earlier, there are a number of parts and areas that literally have unfinished bare metal ready to rust. In fact, already rusting. For those that didn't catch that, you can see a little bit of rust right here on the drive shaft. That is bare metal, and the front axles right here, you can see some rust right on them. So that is really good. And as far as the skid plate, also it is a massive, I guess it's a mounting bracket for the gas tank. We loosened it up to give us a little bit more room on the top, and ideally we would want it to take it off the vehicle, but on this one the gas tank is actually full and it's very heavy, so the only option we would have here is to drain the gas and then take down the this massive skid plate. And as you can see, it is structured from two heavy-duty sheet metal, and there's an air gap in between. You can actually put your there's about 3/8 of an inch, half an inch there, and we will certainly spray it with the same product we use for enclosed areas, and we'll get it protected. But it'd be really nice to take it off the vehicle to actually put the protective coating here on the top side, which we don't have access to because the gas tank is literally is situated in there. So the option here would be to drain and then refill the gas, and then remove the gas tank and remove this plate off the vehicle. And then at that point, the inside of the plate would probably use, we could use the same undercoating material. We can use the chip guard, but those are the options there, or at least considerations. But just even having it on the vehicle and spraying it with rust protective coating is gonna go a long way. As far as the other skid plates, as you can see, there are a total of 4, and they cover different parts of the underbody. The very front one has the same textured finish as the bumper. We measured that, and it doesn't have much depth. We don't know if it is the powder coating, but it is a slightly different finish than just a regular paint. So this probably has a little better chance to just hold up, but it doesn't look substantial. And I can see on the edges already, like right there, you can see it's flaking, or maybe just it didn't get sprayed at the factory thoroughly. And then those skid plates, they basically have no paint. That less than a half a mil of paint, so those gonna rust quickly. And yes, we can spray them with the same protective coating we're applying to the underbody, but those need to be removed and installed for servicing rather often. And that could be a messy, because the protective coating is a non-drying product, so it's gonna stay tacky. And the best option here would be to clean them, scuff them, and apply a heavy-duty chip guard, because it'd be thick, give it good protection, and it would be nice and tight as far as the product goes when you go to remove it and install them for servicing. So just a couple of things and some additional considerations for vehicle protection. The one that we're talking about here specifically is 2023 Ford Bronco, but all these considerations would apply to any vehicle that you want to last. This is a great example because the owner of this vehicle brought it in literally off the showroom floor, and the underbody is impeccable. We looked at the 2024 Jeep today to do the same thing, and it has 1,000 miles, and it already has road dirt. It still looks very, very clean and almost new, but it would require some additional work. Not a lot of work, but it would require some additional work to get it to this absolutely impeccable factory new condition. Just look at it. We love it when we get them this way, because that way you can provide the best level of protection. But still, as far as rust goes, not to forget, it is important to continue monitoring it. It is, because again, we can get into a lot of enclosed areas and all kinds of cavities, but it is still, there are gonna be areas where the water can get to and we couldn't get to with even with this incredibly thorough job. I'm not sure if you can do any more thorough than this. I guess you could if you completely take the vehicle apart, which is unreasonable. But with the vehicle mostly assembled, that's the most thorough job you can do. And then of course the product application is another stage that requires thoroughness, time, and commitment, and just staying with it and applying the product until you sure you got it everywhere. That's exactly what we plan on doing. And with all that said, you still need to monitor it. But the success rate when you get something in this condition, almost new, brand new condition, that is the way to do it. So we highly recommend, when you consider, or if you just purchased the vehicle, do it immediately or much sooner than later. So we just did a hardwax product application. Very thorough. As you can see, we've gotten into pretty much every cavity you can think of. I'm gonna move the camera and you can see it's a lot of work to get such a thorough distribution, which we just achieved. That's all set, all done. And so now we're gonna go after the enclosed areas with waxoyl for enclosed areas. So we just finished all the 4 doors, cargo door, and we're transitioning to the frame. And you can see how this goes in. And we're gonna go through all these cavities, and then we're gonna make its way, our way, into the rocker panels and everything, pretty much from the back to the front and side to side. We're gonna cover all the cavities. And to reach further in, we have these extensions that allow us to spray into the areas like that, and we feed this in. And we're gonna now do the cross member. So we're gonna hit that from inside. And you can see this fog, even if we don't have a direct hit with the stream from the spray gun, this fog resides on pretty much all the enclosed area cavities. Another common area of rust is the leading edge of the hood. So we're actually spraying that now. And you can see, and then we're giving it a 360, and it goes in there. We're gonna do that. So we're at the stage where we're doing just a little bit of touch-ups, those areas that we couldn't access when it was masked. So we're just doing little touch-ups, and we're gonna do pretty much now the assembly after the touch-ups are done. And I'm gonna show you how thorough the product is applied throughout pretty much all the surfaces. You can see where it's kind of a semi-gloss appearance, that's where the product is, and it's like that throughout pretty much all the underbody. And we're now going over manually, and with a flashlight, we're inspecting all the surfaces and doing touch-ups. Here is the set of turbo. Well, this one is a right side turbo. On the left side, this is a left side turbo. Here's the air intake. We have the air intake ducts, and then there we have the turbo, which is driven by the exhaust side of the turbo. Here's electronic wastegate. It's all there. It's actually very, very accessible. Smart approach by engineers to make the turbochargers these easily accessible because it's a pleasure. Hopefully it'd be a while when they need to be serviced, but if you need to do like oil return line or any typical, you know, high mileage maintenance service work, it's nice to be able to access them. On certain cars, on the majority of the cars, it is not something you can easily access. So we're back to assembly on this side. You can see how everything is just covered, and here's the protected underbody. So as far as the enclosed areas, you can see we have the product dripping. We just unplugged those drainage ports because when we sprayed the product, we had them taped to allow the product to level and penetrate the seam, which is the very important area and pretty much one of the main reasons for that protection, because that's where it would rust. And now we let it leveled, we unplug the ports so the product drips, and then we're gonna wipe it all down, be nice and clean. And the same is true back here. Actually, we already cleaned that and plugged those ports right here. So that's all set. And it's amazing again how thoroughly we apply the product, the coating. You can see it pretty much everywhere. Typically these areas we don't go after, but on if we have access to something, we will hit it with the product. It's certainly not going to hurt. It is only going to help. But the original scope of work was just to deal with the frame and the underbody, but we covered parts of the unibody that were exposed back here, which is great. You can see the back panel that often rusts, very often rusts, so that's all protected and covered. And I can see the shiny stuff inside there, you can see too, and that is the enclosed areas. We covered that with the clear product. So yeah, very happy with this outcome. And as you can see, we taped off and protected from overspray the shocks, the exhaust system, the heat shields, the ones that we couldn't remove, those are all protected. And we are going to go over and do a little bit more touch-ups, like these threads. We're going to hit them with the spray and a couple other spots. And as you can see, the calipers, the brake rotors, they're all protected. They were all protected with a masking plastic, because we don't want to get overspray where it shouldn't be going. Making good progress on reassembly, and should be ready soon. So welcome back to the last segment of this awesome video for the Ford Bronco underbody and enclosed area protection. This was a brand new. This is a brand new vehicle, and we were very lucky to receive it in impeccable factory original condition that allowed us to protect that condition by applying rust protective treatments. And throughout this video, and thank you for staying with us, you saw how we did it and what it took to get it to the point where we're now. So we're going to lift up the Bronco, and we're going to show you how it looks with all completed, with the vehicle all assembled, and let's take a look at it together. And as far as looking at really cool things, we also created a photo album. So for future reference, if you want to share it with yourself or your friend, not only you can share this video, please make sure you check that option, but you can look at the link down below, and we have an awesome Google album that will have high definition photos and images taking you and your friends, if you share it, through the work process of this job. So let's get the Bronco up in the air, and we'll check the underbody. So now with the Bronco up in the air, we have unrestricted view of the underbody, and we're going to start from the front bumper, because that is also the area where we worked. I have a flashlight there. If you put your hand in here, you can see it's nice and tacky, and since we had the bumpers off, we were able to apply the product to the inside of the bumper and also to the front of the frames and the frame horns that stick out of here that allowed us to spray the product in there. So we're also going to show you how things look on the suspension. So over here we have knuckles, and we have otherwise aluminum parts. So now these parts are protected with the coating. The intent is, you know, it's nice, but really it is, the control arms usually don't get badly rust damaged. They usually wear out before they get rust damaged. But while we were working with the product, we applied it on all these parts, the cross member, the steering rack, and of course all the frame parts are thoroughly coated. The owner opted not to apply coatings to the skid plates. A couple of reasons. He may replace them with something else, and also he may end up powder coating them if he doesn't upgrade them. So we left those alone. There was also an optional segment of work. He's gonna do that himself. We put a little bit of light coat on the otherwise bare metal parts, and that is something that he would have to wipe that off and refinish it or do something else. We did protect, again, just a light coating on the drive shaft. Our recommendation was to prime it and paint it. That is something that the owner will end up doing himself at some point, possibly. But as you can see, as far as all the frame cross members, and pay attention please to the way that the product is applied. It applied evenly without any runs or massive accumulations or missed spots. And we also have this product in the spray can for touch-ups, which is important to keep an eye on the underbody, and we recommend doing it at least annually. Every time the vehicle goes up in the air for oil service or anything else, it would be a good time to check things and then apply the touch-ups. But as you can see, we have an amazing level of protection. I'm sure you saw that, how it looked before, and you can only imagine how good of a protection this would be moving forward. So, and now we made our way to the rear bumper, which is also protected with the coating on the inside. And of course, the rear body panel is protected as well. Yeah, let's have another quick look on this side along the frame rail. Yeah, these plates, we gave it a light coat, but these are, again, we recommend either powder coating them or painting them on the inside when we have them off. And we did spray them, so you can see the material because we had them off, so we sprayed them before the installation. And we do have the product applied to the inside of the rocker panels. And I mentioned to you how, early in the video, how we fill the doors, the bottoms of the doors, and you still have an occasional drip once in a while. You'd have to wipe that off, but it is all very well protected. So this would be a time for us to say goodbye to this gorgeous Bronco. We want to thank you for watching this video. Please consider sharing, subscribing, and let us know which videos you like the best by simply clicking that like button. My name is Dimitri, and until next time, thanks for watching.